Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through the noise, bring you the key insights from today's biggest stories. And we got a lot today. India's massive GST overhaul, ripples in global markets, and a really exciting scientific breakthrough tackling plastic waste. Let's dig in. Okay, first up, India. The biggest goods and services tax overhaul in 8 years just happened. The GST Council approved these, well, sweeping cuts, making a lot of things cheaper from September 22nd. Think of it like a huge national price adjustment. It's going to affect almost everyone.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it's not just about the government collecting revenue. It's really a strategic move. They want to stimulate consumption, inject some real momentum into the economy. The new structure, it's mostly two tiers now, 5% and 18%. So a lot of stuff that was in the old 12% or even 28% slabs. Yeah, much more affordable. But there's a catch, sort of. A new 40% rate for sin and luxury goods.
Right, okay. So this two-tier system plus the higher luxury tax, are they trying to, shift what people buy towards essentials, maybe? Or is there something bigger, maybe industrial policy, making local goods cheaper? What's the strategy here?
That's a great point. It's definitely multifaceted. Stimulating consumption is key, yes. But there's also this element of boosting local production, making those goods more competitive. Lower input costs help there. The real aim seems to be boosting demand for, entry-level and middle-income stuff. That's the core of India's consumer market. Look at what's getting cheaper. Individual life and health insurance, 0% GST now, down from 18. That's huge for your home. Things like large-screen TVs, air conditioners, dishwashers. Expect maybe an 8-9% price cut. Even small cars, two-wheelers, could drop 12, maybe 12.5%, really targeting that first-time buyer. And groceries, too. Biscuits, soaps, noodles, coffee, butter, potentially 10-15% cheaper. Plus critical medicines, hotel rooms under 7,500 rupees. Significant cuts there too. It's about putting money back in people's pockets.
That really does sound like it'll impact daily life for millions. But with big tax changes, there are always winners and losers, right? Where will people actually see prices go up, and why those specific things?
Well, yeah, on the flip side, if you're looking at high-end clothing, say above 2,500 dal, that's going up to 18% GST. Luxury flying, yachts, that kind of premium travel, definitely getting more expensive. Even IPL matches, believe it or not, will have higher taxes. It's a deliberate move, tapping into that luxury spending. Interestingly, though, cinema tickets under Euro get cheaper, so it's nuanced. And connecting this to the bigger picture, economists think this whole rationalization could add maybe 20 to 30 basis points to India's GDP growth. It's designed to boost middle-class spending and, crucially, unlock working capital for businesses, get things moving.
20 to 30 basis points, that's a serious projection. Sounds great overall. But you mentioned some states flagged revenue concerns. Is there a worry about how these gains get spread out? I mean, SBI research says states could gain a massive 14.1 lakh crore, that's $170 billion US. But maybe not all states see that equally. Could smaller local economies get hit?
That's a very astute point. Yeah, look, the overall pie should grow. That's the projection. But how exactly those potential shortfalls are managed, how the gains get distributed state by state, that's definitely going to be debated. Some states, maybe those heavily reliant on taxing things now considered luxury might see a dip initially. But the general thinking is the long-term boost from a simpler tax system and more economic activity will outweigh those initial bumps.
Okay, makes sense. Now, beyond GST, there's other stuff driving the Indian economy, right? What else is looking strong?
Oh, absolutely. The Union Cabinet just approved a 1,500 crore incentive scheme for recycling critical minerals over the next 6 years, and they're targeting 70,000 jobs. That's quite something. This is really key for strengthening supply chains, especially for EVs, renewables. India wants less import dependence on rare earths. It's a global race, really. We also saw foreign direct investment jump, up 15% in Q1 FY26 at $18.62 billion. The U.S. was the top source, interestingly, shows strong global confidence and internally. Services activity hit a 15-year high in August, driven by just solid demand, new orders picking up.
Right, so lots happening economically. Now, the really interesting part, the markets. How did they actually react to all this news yesterday? Was it just up across the board, or were there specific sectors making moves?
Well, the Indian markets definitely had a positive vibe yesterday, but yeah, not uniformly up. The Nifty 50 gained 0.6%, BSE Sensex up 0.5%, pretty decent. But what really jumped out was the metal sector. The Nifty Metal Index surged, get this, 3.1%. Now that kind of specific jump always begs the question, right? What's going on there? Why metals?
Yeah, 3.1%, that's big. So what's the thinking? Just speculation or something more solid?
According to brokerage CLSA, it's largely linked to China. Expectations that China might cut its steel capacity. Now think about that. If the world's biggest steel producer makes less, that could really help profitability for Indian metal companies. Firms up global prices. It suggests, maybe, the worst is over for that sector. And you thought in the stocks. Tata Steel is a top gainer, up nearly 6%. Hindalco, JSW Steel, also did well. On the other hand, though, IT took a hit. Infosys slipped over 1%. Wipro saw declines, too. Still feeling those sector-specific pressures, maybe worries about global slowdown affecting tech exports.
A tale of two sectors, then. Metals roaring, tech still facing some headwinds. What about individual company stories? Any big strategic plays?
Definitely a few caught my eye. JSW Cement is making some bold moves. They're aiming to slash cost like $400 million per ton in 2 years. Logistics, renewables, alternative fuels. And they're expanding capacity aggressively, targeting 34 million tons by 2028, moving into North India too, clearly betting on government infrastructure push. Then you have the food delivery giants, Zomato and Swiggy. They're testing higher platform fees. 12, 15 in some cities, obvious strategy, right? Boost margins before the big festive season. Shows how these platforms are trying to find profitability. Muthoot Finance, the big gold loan company, raised $600 million. Senior secured notes, 6.375% coupon. Shows investors still like that model. And this one's quite interesting. Uber India. They're using their drivers, all 1.4 million of them, for AI data labeling tasks. Offers drivers a way to earn extra during downtime. Pretty clever use of their network, actually.
That Uber thing is fascinating. But okay, here's something puzzling. You mentioned the positive market mood, strong mutual fund inflows, yet mid and small cap stocks are kind of underperforming. Why is that happening?
Yeah, that's a good nuance to pick up on. It seems counterintuitive, right? It's largely down to share sales, big ones, by promoters, by private equity investors. So as mutual funds are pumping money in, there's also a lot of stock supply hitting the market from these sellers. Plus, you've got a busy IPO calendar soaking up liquidity, so it's basically a supply-demand thing. Makes it harder for mid and small caps to really rally like the large caps, even with all that fund money coming in.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Supply overwhelming the demand, basically. All right, let's shift gears, step back, look globally. What's buzzing on the world stage? Economics, geopolitics. What impacts us?
Well, globally, gold just kept climbing. Record highs again. Partly driven by softer U.S. jobs data. That fueled bets the Federal Reserve might cut interest rates later this month. Combine that with, lingering global uncertainty, these de-dollarization trends, countries looking beyond the dollar. It just keeps that safe haven demand really strong, people looking for stability. On the energy front, Russian crude. Its share in India's imports actually rose 5% in August. That's even though overall imports hit a 10-month low. Shows the ongoing shifts, doesn't it? Global energy markets are still adjusting to sanctions.
And the geopolitical chessboard, any major moves or tensions we need to watch?
Absolutely. Russia-Ukraine is still central, of course. President Putin mentioned a chance for negotiations, if common sense prevails, was the phrase. But he also repeated they're ready to use force. So it's that familiar mix. Closer to India, former U.S. President Trump brought up potential secondary sanctions on India, overbuying Russian oil. He hinted there might be more, called the relationship one-sided, mentioned tariffs. Highlights that diplomatic tightrope India is walking. Meanwhile, India is engaging U.S. lawmakers about concerns over Pakistan-based terror and pushing hard to finalize that FTA with the EU. Very active diplomacy. And, on a sadder note, that tragic funicular crash in Lisbon, at least 15 lives lost. Just a stark reminder of how unpredictable things can be.
Yeah, global uncertainty, geopolitical friction, it really feels like a constant balancing act. But amidst these big challenges, there's always innovation, right? Often driven by these pressures, resource needs, sustainability. So what's the aha moment today? What's exciting on the innovation front?
Okay, let's talk about something that could be a real game changer. For plastic waste, one of our biggest headaches environmentally. Scientists at Northwestern University, they've developed this groundbreaking catalyst, nickel-based, and it could totally transform plastic recycling. This isn't just another method. It selectively breaks down those really stubborn polyolefin plastics, the stuff in most packaging, without needing you to sort it all out first.
Whoa, hold on. Without sorting, that's always been the bottleneck. So what's the magic here? What makes this nickel catalyst so special? Beyond just skipping the sorting, what's the breakthrough?
The aha moment is its incredible selectivity and efficiency. It's really unprecedented. See, this catalyst specifically targets those polyolefins. They're notoriously hard to recycle together because they're chemically quite inert, different types mixed up. But this catalyst breaks them down into valuable, high-purity raw materials, monomers, and at relatively low energy cost. So picture this, a world where you don't need meticulous plastic sorting. One catalyst handles the mixed waste, turns it back into useful stuff. That makes it economically viable. A closed-loop system for plastics that usually just end up in landfills or get burned. It's not just convenient, it can make the circular economy for plastics actually work, tackling that massive global waste problem head-on, turning waste into resource. Think cleaner oceans, less landfills. Huge potential.
Wow, that really does sound like a potential game changer. From GST shifts to global markets and, well, hope for a plastic problem. That wraps up our deep dive for today. We hope this update helps you stay ahead of the curve. Keep an eye on how those economic shifts play out in India and how global pressures keep driving amazing innovation. And just before you go, a quick note, this deep dive commentary was put together using advanced AI. We always strive for accuracy, but please do cross-verify any crucial information yourself. Your informed decisions are what matter most.